Hello and welcome to the Canyons Are Calling podcast. I'm Charles Jocelyn, your host for the show. A couple days late on this one, I finally went to the doctor to see about what's going on with my shoulder and found out it's actually my neck. And I had an MRI done and I just got the results back last week. And there's a lot more going on than I had expected. And so I've kind of been in a funk for the last week and just really worried about trying to avoid surgery because neck surgery honestly scares the shit out of me. And I can't get into the spine doctor for 6 weeks, and that's really frustrating. But I did find out yesterday that I can go to a physical therapist, so I can start physical therapy next week. And I'm hoping that that will help what's going on in my neck and also in my wrist. And I'm hoping I can get back in the canyons by the Arizona rendezvous in April because my mind and my soul just really need the canyons. And I know that so many of you can understand what I'm going through right now. And so if you can just send some good vibes my way and maybe just reach out and let me know, how injuries have affected you and how you stayed positive through the healing process. Because this is not anything that happened due to an injury in a canyon. It's just wear and tear and my life and my body and my job. And it's kind of really mentally hard to deal with. The fact that I'm just getting older and my body's wearing out. So I feel like I have the spine of a 90-year-old and I'm only in my 40s. So it's kind of really hard to hear. But I'm trying to stay focused and just get stronger and build my body back. So anyway, if you guys can just reach out to me and let me know how you stay focused and positive during the healing process, that would really be appreciated because I've had a really hard time this week. Anyway, that being said, I have spent today just daydreaming about canyons, and I was looking in to see what the Himalayan canyon team is up to because of this interview with Jake. And the team started about 6 days ago. They started the next part of their expedition of Seti. And so the Seti Valley sits in the Annapurna Massif in the Himalayas. And it's between 23 and 24,000 feet. I looked it up. It's 6,993 meters, which when I Googled translated it, it was almost 24,000 feet. And that's where the canyons are starting. So they're hiking up this insane terrain to get to these crazy canyons. It takes them 4 to 6 days just to get there. They have to spend time acclimating. The canyons are just raging with water. Some of them are glacier fed, so they have to wait for certain times of year to be able to do them. They look beautiful. They look amazing. So I first saw that Jake was part of this expedition, and I just wanted to get him back on the podcast to talk about the Himalayan canyons. Most people know the Himalayas because of Everest and the other higher peaks there, but to know that there's going on over there, and explorers just totally checking them out and opening these crazy canyons is really, really awesome. So check out the Himalayan Canyon team. They're on Facebook, or you can also just go to HimalayanCanyonTeam.com. And their page has so much information about the projects that they're descending, about the team members. There's beautiful pictures, and it just makes you want to go to the Himalayas, even if you're not a mountaineer. So anyway, I hope you enjoy my interview with Jake, and maybe I can get one of the crew members of the 2023 expedition on to talk about how that went. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, enjoy the show. So today I'm here with Jake Huddleson, and he was here. He's I think my first person that's been a second repeat interview on my podcast. So that's pretty awesome. It was number 19, the Pacific Northwest Canyoneering. So if you want to listen to that, get some more Jake, that's awesome. Today, we are here to talk about Himalayan canyoning. So, hey, Jake, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Happy to be here. It's an honor to be the first repeat. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
So I guess we don't really need to get into like how you got into the outdoors, because if people want to know that, they can listen to the first one. But how did you get into the Himalayan canyons?
Yeah, that's such a cool story. So I've been doing exploration mostly in the Pacific Northwest, doing first descents for the last few years. Obviously, not just me. I've been doing it with a team of friends. It's a group effort always. But posting on social media about the descents, posting details, sharing beta, and just showing how much I love the sport, exploration, and kind of showing the process behind it. And the community of people that go and explore new canyons and do first descents is rather small around the world. Like canyoning in and of itself is already small, right? And then the people out actually exploring is even smaller. So word kind of gets around. If anybody's active and sharing on social media that they're doing consistent exploration, you kind of get an idea who those people are. So I was fortunate enough to have a friend of mine named Olda Stas, who is from the Czech Republic, reach out to me. He has led expeditions with the Himalayan Canyon team. They're based out of Europe, and they have done multiple expeditions over the years. The most famous being the Shamji Kola expedition, I believe in 2011. To this day, I think it's probably one of the most difficult first descents that's ever been done. Multiple days. I think it was 6 or 7 days total. Don't quote me on that. And it's just big water, super deep, super narrow. There is a film about it floating around online. But very, very accomplished, very established team of people. It's varied over the years. And they gather groups of people that are into canyoning and into exploration, and they invite them on these trips. And if you're able to go, then you're able to join on the team. So it was a real honor to be asked to join the team for their 2022 expedition to Nepal. And that was especially special to me because I learned after I was invited that I was the first American canyoneer that had ever been invited to join the Himalayan Canyon team, which was a real honor. It was just amazing that, and feel very, very privileged to have that opportunity. So that was Olda. He reached out. I obviously weighed my options to see if it would be possible. An expedition like that has a lot of different details to think about, right? One is, the time you have to take off to do an expedition like that. So this expedition wasn't just one canyon. We planned to do, I think it was 6 or 7 total, with 2 or 3 of them being big ones, and then the others being smaller kind of practice warm-up canyons. And then, to kind of get to know the team, get to acclimatize to the mountains, and then just kind of get things in order to attempt the big ones. So a lot of considerations there. The last expedition, or the expedition I was on, ended up being about 7 weeks. So it's a long time to take off work, especially if you're an American who doesn't typically get as much time off as Europeans do.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to have a boss and a workplace that was very supportive of the endeavor, which is, not a lot of people have that, which was really nice. I was also asked to, my primary role, after I was invited, they asked me to do a filming for the expedition, so to put together an expedition documentary. And I have a background in photography and filmmaking, and I was overjoyed to hear this, because I've been wanting to make a film for years about a canyoning expedition. So this seemed like a great way to get into it and kind of just focus on that one primary task. And so I thought about it. I think that was one reason why my work was also very supportive of it, is because I work in the film industry. I work at a camera rental company. And so we're in the film industry. We support people making films and documentaries. And so when I told them I wanted to do this, they're like, go for it.
Nice.
So that was super fun.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does a Himalayan expedition look like?
A
Like,
Himalayan expedition. Yes. So Himalayan expedition, again, it wasn't just one canyon, it was multiple canyons. We we meet again. I had never met. There was only one person on the team that I had met before, and that can be a challenge
yeah,
when you go in with a team, because team, especially when you're doing first descents, and there's a lot of safety factors involved and risks involved. Right, you need to know your team. You need to trust everyone. So going with a team you've never met before, even if you think they're trustworthy, that's a gamble, right? I had one member of the team when I got there say, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't have done this, because I know that meeting people in advance is just so key. And so I definitely thought about that a lot before I accepted the offer, just, and I figured
right.
it was worth the opportunity. Um, so the one guy I knew on the expedition, his name was Louis. I had taken a canyoning course with him a few years prior, so I'd only known him from a course. Great guy, but everyone else I had never met before. Um, Everyone turned out to be great. So we met online. I mean, I got invited a full year before the expedition even happened, and I didn't officially accept the invite till 4 months, I think, before the expedition. And so I finally gave the go ahead, and then Olda, who is the trip leader, gave me all the links to all the logistics online, planning out everything. Logistics, there's so many logistics. It's kind of insane. You have to plan where you're going to stay. You have to plan, what you're going to do for food, what your costs are going to be, how you're going to get from point A to point B, what gear you need to take, what can you leave behind that's going to take up too much weight. We got to think about ropes. We got to think about drills. We got to think about anchors. I mean, sometimes we're talking about, potentially 150, 200 bolts that might be placed on a single route that's spread over, 4, 5, 6 days. That we're actually out, a
Yeah.
full descent of a big canyon in Nepal could be 4 to 7 days. I mean,
Wow.
that's,
Yeah.
just a 2-day canyon with an overnighter is more than most people do, on a canyoning trip. So,
Yeah.
um, just so many logistics involved with that, and it's just you have to have it pre-planned in advance. Luckily it wasn't, I didn't have to worry about those logistics as much. My job was to just focus on making sure that I could film as much as possible, and try to have a story in mind, make sure I had all the equipment that I needed, and plan in advance. Right, I got to make sure I have enough batteries for potentially 4 to 7 days of filming. Right, I don't have the ability to charge batteries out there, so things like that you really have to just think thoroughly through all of your potential pitfalls you might encounter, and just try to make sure you have the best plan in place that you can.
Yeah. That sounds pretty intense. So,
Yeah.
the what were the easy canyons, like the 2-day canyons, and then the harder canyons up to like a week?
Yeah, so just a little bit of a spoiler. So we plan to go in and do 6 or 7 canyons, and our final 2 canyons were going to be the big ones. There was going to be um, one that was 4 days and the one that was 7 days. And so the warm-up canyons were anywhere from a single day to 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
So you can imagine, most people be like, wait, a 3 or 4 day canyon? That's a warm-up canyon? Like, wow,
That's a
but
Grand Canyon canyon.
something that was a little bit less technical, more escape options, a little bit less remote, something where, if something did go wrong, it would be a little bit more of it would be a bit more technically feasible to perform a rescue, or that sort of thing. So yeah, so our warm-up canyons, I think there were 5 of them, and those were anywhere from 1 day. I think we did 2 1-day canyons, and I think we did 2 or 3 day canyons, and then we did a 4-day canyon.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the elevation that you guys are doing the canyons?
Oh man, don't quote me on this. I honestly don't remember at the moment. I'd have to look at a map. It's high though. I mean, the Himalayas sit
Yeah.
high. Even the base of the Himalayas are quite high. I could actually look it up
Did you
while we're
spend a
talking.
couple of days acclimating before you started doing the canyons?
We did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you
So
would have to, right?
yeah, we definitely spent some time acclimating. It's usually only 1 to 3 days usually, but yeah, we didn't just jump right in right off the bat. Um, so yeah, let's see. Um, So Pokhara is the town we stayed in most of the time, and that's at 2,300 feet. So really not all that high, but I mean that's at the base of the mountains.
Yeah.
And then I think we probably ascended probably another 2,000 to 3,000 feet before we even started the approach. So I don't know how to convert that into meters, just off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
so
Wow.
we probably got on our highest approach, which was for Romley Cola, was the canyon we did, and that was, again, I don't know the exact feet, but we got just below. Our final camp was just below where we thought we might have to start thinking about potential elevation sickness. So we were definitely monitoring that on where we were going to be on the approach and if we were going to have to think about that, right?
Yeah.
It was possible that if we ended up going into an elevation where we were going to be dealing with elevation sickness, if we came out of it the same day and came back down, then it wasn't going to be much of a problem.
Yeah.
If we ended up staying overnight in that zone, then it was going to be something we had to think about and plan for more acclimatization.
Is that why you did the other canyons later in the trip, or was it just because they were longer expeditions?
No, I think it was primarily because they were just bigger objectives.
Okay.
So we started off. I shouldn't say we started off with the easiest ones, because the first one we started off with was one called Jagat Kola, and that was, I believe it was no, it was one of three we descended that had already been descended on previous expeditions. Still a very big canyon, beautiful canyon. Pretty much all the anchors were destroyed. Those canyons get so much water flow in the monsoon season that bolts just get scoured out of the canyons. So we pretty much had to put in all new anchors on the way down in these canyons. Like there's you can almost expect nothing to be left from prior groups, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
And we did the lower section of that canyon as our first canyon, and that was a single day trip, very long day, fairly big water, and then I think it was a week or two later, after we'd done some single day canyons, we went back and ran the upper section of Jagat Kola, and that ended up being an overnighter. So that was a 2-day trip total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So are these canyons open to people that want to go there, or
They are,
is it
yeah. They're open to the
just
public.
okay?
You do have to have a permit to go into these wilderness areas in Nepal.
Hmm.
I didn't have to deal with the logistics of the permit. That was taken care of by Olda and our local guide that we hired there to kind of work out those logistics. So you do need permits, but anyone, if you're traveling and you want to go there to go canyoning, you have a way to get these permits and go canyoning there.
Would they be able to hit up the Himalayan Canyon team to get more information, or is that, I don't know, is that a good
Yeah,
resource?
yeah, I would say anyone could reach out. Olda is a very well-known, well-respected canyoneer over in Europe, and I'm sure he would be willing to share, how to do some of those, some of those logistics.
Yeah.
So yeah, there have been several groups that have run Jagat Kola since it was first descended, and even Shamji Kola, the big canyon that was descended in 2011, has been descended several times since
Okay.
By other groups that have gone over there. So they're definitely a draw for people to come and visit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Himalayas are kind of high on my list, but
Yeah, they're
now to
beautiful.
know there's canyons over there, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was surreal being there, because I'm a canyoneer. I never really had aspirations to go to the Himalayas. You see it in movies, you see it in documentaries, and you think, wow, that's amazing. You see Mount Everest in the movies,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't think I'll ever go there. I'm not a mountaineer. I don't really have a goal to be there. So to be invited on this trip and then within a year actually be there and kind of see these, in my mind, these mythical mountains that you just see in documentaries was very surreal. It's like,
Yeah.
these are the highest mountains in the world. You could see them on the plane flying into Kathmandu, and it was very surreal.
That's awesome. What was your favorite canyon over there?
Oh, that's a tough one. Jagat was special, just being the first one and probably the biggest one we did, and just kind of getting to know the team, on those first few canyons. Jagat being the first one. Yeah, and then I would say our final two, which were first descents. One was Ramli Kola, the other one was called Balaudi Kola. Kola being Nepalese for canyon.
Okay.
And yeah, the Ramli Kola was a 4-day trip, and we spent multiple nights together doing that one, and then we spent one night doing Balaudi at the top of the canyon. So we spent a whole day approaching. Actually, no, that was a 2-nighter. We spent the night on the approach, partway up the mountain, and then we spent the second night at the very top of the canyon, and then we ran the entire thing in one day, and then got out late at night in the dark. And I would say those were very special. That second one being special because that last one being special because we had some local porters, which, from my understanding, porters are the Nepalese equivalent of Sherpas. So Sherpas, I believe, are from Tibet. Don't quote me on that, I believe. And then porters are from Nepal, from my understanding.
Okay.
And so they're the kind of the same thing. You pay them a fee, and then they help you take your equipment up. Otherwise, it would be very, very heavy to do on your own. So they came up with us. They cooked us food, which was amazing, local food. And they showed us the way. Terrain we thought was extremely remote and hard to navigate. They just were like, "Oh yeah, we know exactly where that is," and they would show us where it was.
Nice.
Very, very, very cool. And then they made us dinner the second night at the canyon. And then they said goodbye, and they left, and then they met us at the bottom when we got out of the canyon, and just greeted us to made sure we were okay. They said they were worried when we got out in the dark, but I would say, and I got to spend some time with the team there, and it was great bonding with those guys, and getting to spend time with the locals. Yeah, very, very enjoyable trip.
Now, were there any language barriers that you had to deal with?
Yeah, there was a bit of a language barrier. Definitely at times, some more than others. It was kind of sporadic throughout the country as to, how much English they knew. And, we learned very little Nepali, just some of the keywords, like, please and thank you and that sort of thing. But for the most part, we relied on the locals kind of knowing some English. So it kind of just varied depending on who you met, what porters you had, how long they'd lived in the village, level of education, I would assume, things like that. So that was definitely a challenge. And then amongst the team as well, there was, some language barrier challenges. We had, our leader from the Czech Republic, that was Olda. We had a couple guys from France, a couple guys from Italy. We had a guy from Belgium, a couple guys from Germany. And I believe that's it. And then an American. And varying levels of English. When I first got there, I greeted Yari, who's Italian, and I started speaking very quickly, and he said, "Whoa, bro, slow down. Like, you must speak very slowly. My English is not good." And so for the rest of the trip, I had to, kind of slow down a bit and speak, very deliberately, choose my words carefully in order to communicate. And that was also a challenge while filming as well. I filmed multiple interviews with the team members for the film, and with some of their limited English, they didn't feel comfortable responding to my questions in English, so they would actually respond in their own language. So we had some French interviews and a Czech interview and Italian. So I'm going to have to go back later and have somebody translate the interviews for me, so then I can edit those.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a unique challenge for sure.
Yeah. So how long do you think the documentary will take you to edit and translate and all that fun stuff?
That's a good question. I really don't know. I've done filmmaking for a few years now, but this is my first feature documentary. So I really don't know how much time it's going to take. My goal is next year sometime, 2023. Hopefully by the end of 2023 is the ultimate goal, but I have no idea how many hours are going to go into it. It's probably going to be a lot more than I think it will be.
Yeah. How many hours of footage do you have? Do you have any idea?
I haven't counted the exact hours, but I know I have about 4 terabytes of footage.
Holy shit.
And that's everything from my primary camera, which is a Sony FX3, and then we have GoPro footage from various people and people shooting on their phones. Like, when I wasn't able to get out my primary camera, I would pull my phone out of my pocket and just film with my phone.
Okay.
phone footage these days is high enough quality that you can splice that into documentaries and it works pretty well.
Mm.
So yeah, the total number of hours, if I had to guess, I would say it's probably somewhere, mm, 50 to 70 hours probably,
Wow.
and whittle that down to 1 to 2 hours probably.
Right.
Hmm.
You've got a lot of work on your hands, man.
I do. I do indeed.
In between exploring the Pacific Northwest canyons and your daily work.
Yeah, it's gonna be a labor of love for a while for sure.
That's awesome. I'm excited. Are you going to be letting little teasers out every once in a while like you have?
Yeah, I'll probably be one more full trailer. This last one, the first one that was released, was just kind of some footage set to music. The next one will probably have some interviews and some more audio sprinkled in, and just to kind of show some of the more human parts of the expedition.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a few clips released here and there as a preview before the final film comes out.
What were some of the hardest parts you had to overcome?
I would say there's definitely a lot of contemplation about the risks involved with an expedition like this. So with Nepal is a developing country, so their infrastructure already is not as advanced as say here in the United States. So hospitals, search and rescue are not going to be what we have here. So basically, we went in with the understanding that if there was an accident or if we were to get stuck, your rescue team is your team you have with you. Like you have to work together to solve that problem. Local search and rescue is probably not coming for you.
Yeah.
So you have to be extra careful when you are in those canyons. You have to think about every step really, and not do anything that maybe you would have a little bit more courage to do at home. Just a broken ankle or a sprained ankle up
Right.
there could be a very, very big deal when you're that remote in the mountains. So you spend a lot of mental energy thinking about those risks and how to mitigate those risks. So that was a big challenge. And then everyone had a role on the team. So we had members whose role was to set anchors and put in bolts. We had teammates whose role was to rig. My role was to do the filming. I obviously had to rappel and get down the obstacles in addition to filming. But I still had to get through the canyon. And then we had team members whose jobs were to clean all the rappels and then push those ropes forward to the bolters and the riggers so that they could reuse those ropes for the next rappel. So it was just constantly kind of leapfrogging. And so just kind of planning that out is a challenge in and of itself, particularly the filming. I would say for me, like, I'm filming as much as I can. Like, anytime I can have a camera rolling, I'm trying to record something, because you never know what's going to happen or what's going to be a good shot. And you just want to get as much content as you possibly can so that you have more content to choose from when you're doing your final edit for the film. So there's just a lot of stress there involving, am I getting enough stuff, enough footage? Is it going to be good? Do I have enough variety? And that's in addition to keeping your gear safe. I spent a lot of energy and time trying to make sure that the gear was not going to be ruined, that the waterproof case I was transporting the equipment in didn't leak. If I had a leak in the case over there and all my gear got ruined, like, that's pretty much it for the gear. I don't have a backup kit.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time making sure that the waterproof seals on the waterproof case, or the rubber seals on the waterproof cases, were clean of dirt and debris, that the latches closed properly and there were no straps or anything hanging out of the case that would let water in. Spent a lot of time making sure that everything was well padded. So, occasionally you have to throw a pack, even with a camera in it. And if it hits a rock or it hits the water in a certain way, you don't want that stuff rattling around and breaking. So you're trying to make sure everything is nice and compact and it's not gonna bounce around inside the case. So it's things like that, very stressful, knowing that you pretty much only have one chance, and if you mess it up, you're kind of in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like everything worked out well, though, and made it through.
I did, yes. I made it through, no leaks, nothing broke. I
Yay.
was very happy and breathed a sigh of relief after the final canyon that all the camera equipment was alive. I was alive. Nothing was broken.
No dead
Uh,
batteries. No.
well, I planned out the batteries just fine. Didn't never ran out. Um, yeah, I was very happy with how that part of it turned out.
Very awesome. What time of year is best to go to the Himalayas?
So the best time is earlier in the year. So we arrived in early March and we were there till end of April. So that is kind of getting near the end of winter. They're also in the northern hemisphere, like we are in the United States. Um, but summer is typically not the best time to be in there because summer is when they get their monsoon rains,
Okay.
and that's when canyons are just flowing way too high to even be feasible. It would just be death water to go and run canyons then, from my understanding. So the earlier in the year when it is cooler, so you're getting less melt water coming off of the mountains. Melting water is the majority of the water in your canyon.
Mm.
And then so it's colder, you have less melt water, and then you also have less rain as well. So those factors are the most important to consider, because really it's water flows that is the primary danger when you're in those canyons.
They already
Um,
seem pretty high to me, but I'm a dry canyon person.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It's funny. I thought my tolerance for high flow was pretty good until I went over and met these European guys, and they are on another level. They were doing stuff that I was looking at going, this is absolutely insane. Like I don't know how I'm going to do this, but they just did it, so I got to do it. I'm not staying here. Going right through the middle of the flow in the water, you're getting absolutely pounded. And I'm like, I never thought I could be in something like this, and for them it's just another day. So,
Wow.
and it's just, yeah, it was a great learning experience, and it really inspired me to continue upping my game and just get more confident and get better to do crazier stuff.
Yeah. So, do you have any other crazy expeditions on your list?
Right now, there's nothing official on the calendar. Um, so the Himalayan Canyon team, is actually going back in January to attempt the big routes that we didn't get to do on this last trip. And unfortunately, I'm not able to join them. Kind of going back to the time commitment that's involved, and it's quite expensive as well. You end up putting a lot of your personal expenses in,
Mm.
and just for me, it wasn't practical to do two expeditions basically 10 months apart. So I wasn't able to make it happen. But I'm really excited for them to get back over there and get into some of these amazing canyons. Yeah, from what I know from the recon that we did when we're over there, if they end up getting into those canyons, they're going to be spectacular, world class canyons.
Wow. How many days are they looking at?
For the big one, it's going to be probably they're not quite sure. They think it's probably going to be 4 at the shortest,
Okay.
possibly 7 or 8 at the longest if they have special challenges. Yeah, and
Wow.
that canyon's called the Seti Gandaki River. It comes off of the Annapurna Massif, which is this huge bowl with Annapurna 1, 2, 3, and 4 around this bowl, and that drains into this giant valley, and then it just plunges down into this deep dark chasm that nobody's ever been into yet. It's so deep and dark that
Wow.
when we flew over it with a helicopter on recon, we couldn't even see the bottom. That's how deep and dark it was. Yeah. And
That
you
sounds
look at this thing, you're
intense.
going, there's no way somebody can go through that. But we're explorers, right? We want that challenge. you know, there's that draw there that says you shouldn't be in there, and yet that's where we want to go.
But that's it's calling. It's just calling.
Mhm.
I gotta
And
see.
the calling, we got it.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah. So I'm excited for them. Disappointed I won't be able to join, but I'm excited that I think it's very likely that they'll be able to get into that one and a couple others.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be following them on Facebook, see what happens.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Anything in the Pacific Northwest coming up?
Oh, there's always stuff coming up.
You guys have been
I mean,
doing
this
some
season's,
awesome stuff out there.
I mean, we're still kind of in the golden age of exploration in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, we've done a lot in the last 4 or 5 years, but there's still so much more. So nothing in the near future. The season's kind of done for this year. I mean, we're recording this podcast in December of 2022.
Yeah.
The rains will all come back. It's pretty crappy weather. So season won't really start again in full force until June, July-ish. And then we just basically almost every weekend trying to run first ascents through basically till the weather gets bad again in September, October. So we always have a running list of what we want to go check out.
They look really cool.
Yeah.
I have to get back up there. I lived in Seattle for a little bit, but
Oh, you did? When did you live here?
I did not do canyons then. It was probably 97, 98, long
Okay. Yeah.
time ago.
Canyoning wasn't even a thing. At least it wasn't publicly known about at that time.
Yeah, and I wasn't even close to a canyoneer then. So
There was probably a hand. You could probably count on your hand how many canyoneers were in the Northwest at that time.
right.
Yeah. But
It's so cool that it's growing. Like it gives me a reason to go back for
mhm.
sure.
Yeah, if you want to come up, let us know. We'll make it happen. It'd be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. I would say if there's anyone out there that wants to explore, if you have that calling, just get out and start doing it. Try to get some mentorship if you can. Again, it's hard to find those mentors because there's just so few of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that can kind of give you some peace of mind as you're kind of pushing your limits a bit, trying to explore. Because again, exploration is a puzzle, really. You're going in, it can be weird at first not having beta, right? Most
Mm-hmm.
people are used to having beta that they can pull out and check for information. When you go in on exploration, you usually don't have that, right? You are literally creating the beta as you go. And there's a special thrill involved with problem solving, right? Getting to an edge and knowing nobody's ever rappelled this before. What's our best way down? What's the safest way? What's the best spot for an anchor? What's the best type of anchor? And then doing that and accomplishing that is such a great feeling. So I would,
Mm-hmm.
anybody who kind of feels that calling, I would say give it a try. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah, I agree. I've only done a couple first ascents, but they have been really incredible.
Yeah,
And I've
it's
been,
not like nothing else.
and we just recently this weekend did a canyon that nobody in the group had done, and there's like very little beta about it. So we
Mm,
basically knew like the coordinates for the first rappel and the last rappel and the
mhm.
exit, and like that's all we really knew, and kind of how
Right.
long the rappels were. And that was really fun to do a canyon like that again because it's been a little while since I've done a canyon with not very much information.
Yeah.
So there's still
And even
canyons
then
out there.
right. Even then that, someone's done it before, right?
Right.
Even with your lack of information, you're like, okay, someone's been through here and they've survived and
Right. They survived. I know I can do it.
right, they managed to problem solve their way through all the challenges they found, and that definitely gives you a little peace of mind. But there's just something about going from having full beta to having almost no beta
To
or no
zero.
beta at all.
Yeah.
It gives you a funny feeling in your stomach, but it
Hmm.
can also be very rewarding.
For sure. Anyway, I'm not going to ask you all of the snack questions and all of that other stuff because I already did on episode 19 in the Pacific Northwest Canyoneering episode. But I do want to ask you if you want to leave the listeners with any safety advice before we say goodbye.
Safety advice: plan well. Make sure you bring equipment. Make sure you're going out with a team that you trust, and best of all, have fun.
And a new question I'm going to start asking in 2023. Why do you go canyoneering?
Why do I go canyoneering?
What draws you
I,
to the canyons?
what draws me to the canyons? There's so many things. If I had to narrow it down to one thing, it would probably be enjoying the beauty of these small pockets left in the world that very few people have ever seen.
Very well said.
That's special.
Yep. I agree. Only the bold will see the arteries of the earth.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Jake.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
the canyons are calling. We should probably go.
We should. Let's do it.
Okay, I hope you all enjoyed my interview with Jake Huddleson. You can check out more of his work at jakehuddleson.com. It's JakeHuddleston.com. Check out his work there. He's also on Instagram and Facebook. I will have links to all of that in the show notes. He has some really cool little videos on Vimeo, all about canyons. He does a lot in the Pacific Northwest. Now this stuff in the Himalayas, stuff from all over. So check out Jake's work there. You can also check out more of the Himalayan Canyon team on the Himalayan-canyon-team.com. And I'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. If you appreciate what I do for you for the podcast and you feel value from the stories that I share, please reach out and donate to me on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/The Canyons Are Calling. That's just a secure place where you can support the show. With that, I give you a monthly canyon call on the first Wednesday of every month. We just meet up, chat canyons for about an hour every day, each call. Sometimes I get guests on there. Like last time I had Ursula and Adolfo with Gear Perspective, and we talked about the new things that Gear Perspective has coming up. I've also had Ira Lewis from the San Juan Mountains and Glacier Black on there. So hopefully I can get some more volunteers to be on the Patreon calls. It's really just fun way to just meet the people that are supporting the show. I don't have any sponsors as of yet, and so it's just listener supported, and it's just a great way to meet more people in the community. So if you'd like to join in on that, also I accept donations through PayPal at thecanyonsarecalling@gmail.com, and also on Venmo, it's Shirl's Rocks. It's SHIRLZ-ROX. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, you can do it that way. And that just goes to help compensate me for my time for creating the stories, for the purchase of new gear, for supporting events like the Uri Canyon Show and maybe some other festivals that are coming on. I might try to do my own at some point when I'm back in the canyons. I wanted to do another birthday party this year, but my body is just not going to let me do that. So, like I said, I'm really hoping to be able to get back out there by April, which is really hard to say in January. You can't do canyons till April, but especially when it's been so long already. Anyway, I know that a lot of you understand, and I know that the canyons are calling, so let's go. Thanks, guys.